So we're still talking about population dynamics, but in this particular case, we're talking about it in reference to reproductive methods. And our reproductive methods are in relation to K and R strategists. So there's many biotic factors which impact the population size and hence the carrying capacity of an ecosystem. And one specific way relates to the way in which an organism actually reproduces. Now, there's a really quick recap here in ways in which animals can reproduce. We've got asexual reproduction via binary fission. We can have fragmentation, where we snap off little bits and grow new organisms, which is pretty magical. Budding as well. There's lots going on here, but also we have sexual reproduction, and we know that sexual reproduction adds more diversity into a population, so can be quite handy. So we've got spawning, basically putting out eggs and hoping that someone is going to fertilize them. We've got shelled eggs, we've got live young, which makes sense to us, and also parthenogenesis, which is a pretty funky way and is sometimes known as virgin birth of live young, and this is very, very rare. It's a bit of a strange grey area between sexual and asexual though. So sexually reproducing organisms can be further classified into groups which relate to the way that they take advantage of their environmental conditions to reproduce. And another way to put this is to describe how they allocate their time and resources, so their time and their energy, into growing and reproducing. Now, K and R selection is a bit of a spectrum from one end to the other, where sexually reproducing organisms, it's only sexually reproducing organisms, are classified in terms of the way they spend their time and energy. So on the spectrum at the K end, it relates to a carrying capacity of an environment, and these organisms live in often dense environments. They're close to reaching carrying capacity, hence they are at this end here. The R end relates to biotic potential of an organism to reproduce. Reproduce, how easily it can increase its population size through reproduction, right? If we're talking quantity and quality here, this is the quantity end. They can put out a lot of babies. This is, hey, we're going to spend some quality time with them. So these organisms often live in unstable, challenging, changeable environments and can reproduce rapidly, think R, whereas this is more the opposite. So organisms which are R selected, they favour the biotic potential end of the spectrum. So there's, their short lives, they turn around babies pretty quick, they reach sexual maturity pretty quickly because they have to have all those babies. They have a very strong sex drive, but they have very little care once those offspring are born, right? Rapid population changes, they come and they go as quickly as possible, and we're talking external fertilization. So it might be that they're laying eggs, another organism is, just please come and fertilize this, and then they'll figure it out themselves. But they're not hanging around to look after their young, okay? And these species with high capacity for population increase, which, they're going to grow fast. Some really good R-selected ones, we talk about rats and ants and insects and even corals and things like that. Now, K-selected have characteristics which favour the opposite end of this spectrum. So they exist under really strong competition, and they're in stable environments, and they're pushed to use the available resources more efficiently. So they have longer lives, fewer offspring, but they put a lot of time and energy into looking after those offspring. They're going to be a bit slower to reach sexual maturity because they have that longer lifespan, and they have a larger body size usually, longer gestation period, so the baby's going to take longer to grow, and they're usually internal fertilization, hence they're going to gestate those babies, and they're in those stable populations. So there's a lot going on here, but remember, this is the other end of the spectrum, so it's almost exactly the opposite. Some really good examples are elephants. They have a gestation period of 20 months. That's a long time to be pregnant. Turtles, they actually display both K and R selected traits. They're really large organisms, really long lifespans, but they actually produce a really large number of very unnurtured offspring, so bad parents. But remember, this is a spectrum, so there's going to be things that sit in between. It's not just going to be one end or the other. Now, an organism's reproductive characteristics will significantly impact the population size and change and all of that stuff and the dynamic ecosystem conditions. So if we're looking, there's straight down the middle, we personally, percentage of maximum lifespan, we are mostly getting there, number of survivors, lots and lots and lots. The majority of us are making it to the end of our lives, end of our average lifespan, whereas these ones here, not a lot. They're going to die off young and they're not going to have very long life. In our growth curve here, and we're talking carrying capacity, we can see those K-selected species have that exponential growth and then hit that carrying capacity and plateau out, but the R-selected ones are going rapid growth, rapid death, rapid growth, rapid death. So those population numbers are fluctuating quite substantially. This is a compare question, so don't forget you'll be finding similarities and differences between the two, so that might be something to identify on your notes.